Hello there, it's Phumlani M. Machozi. I hope you have had an awesome week. This is the Phumlani Machozi show where we give you a conservative perspective on local and global socio-economic affairs. Three stories I want to talk about this week. The first one is Malema's interview with Bloomberg, where he said that, when his party governs, it will ensure that there is consistency, that there is clarity, and that there is transparency as well. That is what he told Bloomberg this week. So I will delve into that. The second one is about the IEC, the Independent Electoral Commission. It's going to the Constitutional Court to appeal the, the ruling of the Electoral Court recently, where the Electoral Court said that Jacob Zuma he can contest the May 29 elections. He can contest to be a member of parliament. So it's going to be, let's talk about that a bit and what it means. And then the third one is about, of course, what we heard this week, the scrapping of government e-tolls in Gauteng. So that was a very good story that came out this week. So those are the three stories I want to talk to you about. Remember to get my book, Lessons from Past Heroes, at a bookstore near you, and learn about the importance of markets, of personal responsibility, of family, of holding our leaders to account, of hard work. Yes, those are the ideas that I discuss, or things I discuss in my book, Lessons from Past Heroes. So let's just delve into it. We won't be too long. So yes, Julius Malema, he appeared on he was on Bloomberg, and he was being interviewed them. Of course, he's saying, look, my government will be consistent. There would be transparency, and there would be clarity on its policy, or its policies. And it's good that he said that. Hey, it's good so that people know, people who are investors, people who own businesses, the citizens, they know what is it that they are dealing with. That's very good. That he wants to do that. Clarity is very important. But it's very important to remember also then as to what does the EFF stand for? What does it stand for? What does it stand for, the EFF? What are the values? Is it the values and the principles that can advance South Africa, make it one of the globally competitive countries in the world, strengthen economic growth, boost economic productivity, entrepreneurship, business thriving, is what they're proposing to us something that can make us a better country. They want to, they want the EFF says they want a minimum wage of 6,000 rands. That's one thing. They want government to be the controller of the land. Let's just see here. Yes, they want to, make all land state-owned, of course, and they say they want to restrict foreign land ownership. They want to nationalize banks, start state-owned enterprises. They want to have it's called universal healthcare, or controlled by the government, free healthcare. They say free universal healthcare. That's what they want. By the way, some of those things are proposed by the ANC. So some of it is the same thing as the ANC is proposing. So that is why I say when people say the ANC and the FF aren't going to be in a coalition, are you sure about that? Cannot be sure about it. Can't be sure in politics. And in their foreign policy, of course, they want to lean more toward Venezuela, Cuba, Russia as well. These are countries that really don't believe strongly in democracy, right? Aren't really open societies, and they want to align with them. So they want to scrap, which is very concerning to me. They want to scrap the independent examination board exams. Leave such things, leave them. The government must focus on what it already owns. Don't start scrapping things, right? And don't start new state-owned companies and businesses. Don't do that. You want to take us into a route that will not be helpful. You need a competitive environment, a competitive society, if you want to make progress, if you want to speed up economic development. People need to remember that, the ideas that are proposed, this state ownership and state being the provider and subsidizer, controller, these things, they have failed in many countries around the world. Venezuela is a very perfect example where the country is endowed with mineral resources, yet um, it is what? Well, it's endowed with oil, to put it in the right way. Yet the country is really, it's gone downhill. Inflation around 2018, it's reached 130,000%. That's inflation around 2018. So it's gone down now over the years into something above 300% last year. But over the past 10 years, Venezuela has faced some serious troubles. So hyperinflation in Venezuela, millions fleeing the country because of destitution, chaos, violence. So we can't go that route, because when the government takes over and does things that aren't helpful or are counterproductive, it's not going to work for the society. So it's been a mess in Venezuela. Zimbabwe, this thing of government, running into things and taking them over by force. Um, that is not going to help us, folks. That's not going to help us. Even when you look at the Heritage Foundation, the Heritage Index of Economic Freedom of the Heritage Foundation, you can see that these countries, they rank right there, way down when it comes to not individual freedom, when it comes to economic freedom. In other words, much less capitalist. And look at what's happening in those countries. The situation is not good, folks. We cannot repeat the things that have failed across human history. When you look at during the era of the Cold War, what you noticed was that by the time the Cold War ended, the countries that were sort of more capitalist or aligned with the United States, they were better off for net balance, right, than countries that were on the Soviet side, and the countries that really have advocated for more state control in business, the state being the driver. That has not worked, folks. It also doesn't work in basic principle, and that is, the idea of a government. You are taking money by force from other people, and you are giving it to politicians to do what, right? To be the ones who determine what needs to be done by that money. That's not going to work, right? Rather leave the money that people have earned in their pockets. Take as little as possible. I'm not saying don't take anything from people's, money that they have earned in the markets. Because I'm not an anarchist. I'm not an anarchist. I need to be clear on this. I am not an anarchist. I do believe that we do need a small government that is focused on the key functions of the government, right? The military, law and order, enforcing that. Um, of course, in terms of education, also ensuring that there is public education. But even public education, I'm not saying that there should only be public education. I believe there should be independent schools as well. That's very important. And in fact, we need to grow the independent schooling system. Our independent schools, they need to grow and thrive so that they themselves also compete in the market and compete with government, right? And if we can create more and create even things like the voucher systems, we should encourage independent schools, while we also address the problems of our public education. We must get it both right. We don't need to be pro or anti, right? In terms of education, let's make sure that we have a thriving market that's got different kinds of educations that can be provided in the market, so that we can allow a stronger sense of more supply of many things that are needed by our people. So I mean, we can't really say what the EFF is proposing is going to move South Africa forward. It's proposing huge state interventions that aren't going to help us. We've already seen state interventions before. We've had them over the past 30 years of our democracy. Even before 1994, huge massive interventions by the National Party in its racist apartheid system. And it wasn't something that was good or net balance for the whole country. So you must be careful, right? But Malema says there will be consistency, clarity, and transparency. That's what he's telling Bloomberg. Now, fine. We shall see how investors would react to that. But at least they are smart enough to know what works and doesn't work. So that's the first story I wanted to opine on today. The second one is the IEC. IEC is going through the Constitutional Court to say no, the electoral court was wrong in its decision to say Zuma can contest the election. He's a man with a criminal record. Look, I don't have an issue that the IEC is going to the highest court in the land. That is fine. In fact, I was expecting them to do that. It was just to lay back without the Constitutional Court having looked at it, then we don't have real clarity, right, on the matter. So it's good that they are going to the highest court in the land. That is fine. But I'm also going to say this, which is very important, which is what I said last week as well, and in my other video earlier this week. This whole thing doesn't change anything. In fact, the whole constitutional court sort of appearance by the IEC, or to push the matter to go to the highest court in the land, it gives a spotlight to the MK, right? And this idea that is, for years, Jacob Zuma has been saying, the legal system, it is against me, it doesn't want me, it's all political. So he's going to sell this whole thing as we head to the election. So either way, it's a win for the MK. And even if the Constitutional Court says that Jacob Zuma should not be on the ballot, as I said earlier this week, listen, it doesn't make any difference. The ANC is sinking. It's not going to change anything. In fact, it is really going to make MK to be a party that is, that gains momentum as we head through the election. It doesn't make any difference because Jacob Zuma is going to say, he has already said it, don't vote for the ANC. He has mobilized his people who support him not to vote for the ANC. So, I mean, either way this thing goes, the ANC is doomed. Whether the MK loses or wins at the Constitutional Court, it doesn't make any difference. The ANC is in serious trouble. The MK is going to be really a huge negative for them. They will suffer regardless of the outcome at the Constitutional Court, regardless of whether Jacob Zuma is on ballot or not. The ANC has suffered, and its MK is going to really cause serious trouble for the ANC. So that's the second story, and I think I'm very clear on where I stand on that. The third story is about the e-tolls being scrapped this week. Awesome stuff. They are being scrapped. The e-tolls in Gauteng. Awesome stuff. Great work by Outer and Tim Wayne Duvenach, and many people who were anti this program, right? So I would say that's positive news. How many taxes? We pay more than 44%, 45% tax rate that we pay. The money that our money that the government takes by force. And then they tax us when I go home to KwaZulu-Natal. I have to pay the tolls. We buy a meal, we get taxed. We buy something in shops, to dress or whatever, we get taxed. we buy fuel, we are getting taxed. We are getting taxed left and right. How many of our taxes do politicians want exactly? How many of our taxes? You know, if you were to sit down and calculate and see how much you would be well off were you not paying taxes, you would really be stunned. Sit at your home and think about and see the numbers. If you were not paying taxes, if you were paying a zero tax rate, right? By how much would you be reaching? It would be a lot, trust me, right? But instead, we take a big chunk of our money, almost half that we earn from work, and then well, not almost half, way more because of other different kinds of taxes. And we give it to government to to use that money for its inefficient programs. Um, Many of it is being stolen. So the whole tax system is something that should be it's not something we should be a fan of. Which is what I say in my book Lessons from Past Heroes, that this thing of the people who like taxes, and I doubt there are people who really like to pay taxes. Even socialists and communists, they're just playing with us. They're not being honest. If there was a choice to say you choose to pay taxes or you don't, it's your choice. Most people would not. Well, all people would not pay taxes. So that should be the real test. So I mean, it's and again, I'm not an anarchist. I must be clear here. I do believe that you know there should be taxes, but my point here is that people must be taxed as low as possible for the government that is needed, right? Um, we have to we should be cautious on matters of taxes. It's that should be the mindset that the taxes that the government collects from the people, they are as low as possible, if I can put it like that. And remember, by the way, low tax rates also encourage boost economic growth. They are also, the government in many instances collects more taxes if the tax rates are lower. So those are the things. There are studies that have shown that around the world. So those are the things that we should be thinking about when it comes to taxes. We need to have that mindset of 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 um, uh, of thinking, well, the whole tax thing, in principle, it isn't really a good thing for any one of us. Um, we should be we should lower it as much as we can. It can be done. We can get to the thinking. I don't believe that such things were just people just when you say these things, people don't take you seriously. Some people they think that you're just saying them for clout. No, it can be done, folks. If we had a leader who believes in such things and it galvanizes people and we begin to think differently, it can be done. It's just that the people who are more influential out there, they are not really believing in such in something like that. And it's concerning. But it can be done. A shift can be quick, so long as it's got some people who represent that idea and are willing to beat the drum, not to beat the drum on it. That would really help. So those are my thoughts. Remember, I'm on phumlanimajosi.com. I'm also on X, and my X handle is @Phumlani M Majosi. I'm also on Instagram @Phumlani M Majosi. I'm also on Facebook, my Facebook page, Phumlani M Majosi. I'm also on TikTok @Phumlani M Majosi. I'm also on LinkedIn, Phumlani M Majosi. You will find me there. So yeah, great to talk to you. We will chat soon.